And one could cite his position could say,
Trump is out of the
I
hospital.
cannot tell you this detail
Publicity
or answer that
stunt.
question out of respect for
Publicity
privacy.
stunt
That is
at
a
its best.
perfectly ethical, moral, and correct answer. What I do not think is correct is to do what essentially was implied here, which was to mislead the press and the public about his condition in order to be upbeat. That is highly inappropriate. That is misleading. The people deserve to know the truth. If the president has a rough course and recovers, wonderful. But if he doesn't, what are we going to say? I don't see the upside here, that talking nice about things will not make things nice. It just misleads. So it's very confusing. We learned that his oxygen saturation dropped in such a way that he could be in a risk category that could be far more severe than we were initially told.
Trump is out of the hospital.
We hear that he had a high fever, not a mild fever. We hear that his x-rays or CAT scans, depending on what they did, were expected, which is not normal, expected for COVID-19. I have seen expected, and they're not pleasant. So we're learning that things are not as rosy as we're told a day ago. And I don't see the upside of that. Why not just say the truth, or I can't tell you. Those are perfectly good options.
Dr. Jeremy Faust, thank you so much for helping us understand this. It's really puzzling to a lot of people. And also consider this. 3 Republican senators have recently tested positive for COVID-19. That means the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court might not be easy, at least before the presidential election. Jonathan Turley is a law specialist at George Washington University here.
The key to remember is that the majority leader has zero margin for error. He cannot lose a senator to a convalescent period. So we don't know how serious the illness is for these senators. What is clear is that the Republicans are going to go forward. And if they have to take these senators into the floor on a gurney, my expectation they would do it if they consented.
And the Democrats will do everything within their power to try and stall and delay and block this. The coronavirus seems like a good excuse for them to try and bring that into play.
It's not going to be successful. This falls in the category of holding my breath until you give in. McConnell will just let them hold their breath. He has the votes necessary. He can change the rules and allow for a virtual hearing. He can even allow for virtual voting if they push through those changes. And the thing is, even though time is short before the election, it's not that short. He can actually get this confirmation through in this period. And he can also make changes if he has to. So he has a little time to play with, assuming these 2 senators are on the mend. They did apparently get it early, which is always a good sign.
So you think there is still time, 1, to change the vote to a virtual one if necessary, and 2, to stick to this timeline that makes sure that this confirmation happens before November 3rd, which is Election Day?
Yes, I mean, there is a possibility that they could push through this nomination during the lame duck period. But what is clear is that the Senate is all hands on deck. They are moving heaven and earth to get this confirmation across the finish line. They have a number of weeks, and I think they're hoping that that's enough for these senators to recover. So I think that on Capitol Hill, they're still pretty bullish about getting this through. The most the Democrats can do is really attack along the edges, making small delays, an hour, maybe even a day. But it'll take something really horrific, like a serious illness of one of or 2 of these senators, to derail the strategy.
And Joe Biden at the debate dodged the question of whether or not he's open to expanding the number of people in the court. So if this does go ahead and Judge Barrett is confirmed, does that give more fuel to this growing school of thought that the Democrats just need to expand it to make sure it remains ideologically in their corner?
He did. I mean, it was sort of lost because the president's performance at points was truly appalling. But it was equally shocking to see Joe Biden again refuse to answer this question of whether he will pack the court. Many people in the United States will not vote for a candidate who is open to packing the Supreme Court. And he continues to refuse to answer that, even though his running mate, Kamala Harris, is one of the Democrats that raised this issue. So this isn't coming from the Republican side. So I don't know how long he'll be able to continue this, because this is a major issue. In the view of some of us, packing the Supreme Court with 6 new members just to get a majority would destroy that institution. And it's an odd way to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to destroy the court she loved so much.
A bizarre day in Washington made even more bizarre by the president's photo op to wave at his supporters. Back to Martin now.